Welcome back to Strawberry Ink, the podcast that dives deep into the ink-stained files, buried truths, and the controversial legacies that history just can't seem to shake off. I'm your host, Santiago, and today we're going full spiral, JFK, Oswald, the CIA, and a Cold War rabbit hole so deep we might not even hit the bottom. Let's start with one of the strangest theories ever pushed to the surface, the Lee Harvey Oswald double murder theory. According to researcher John Armstrong, there wasn't just one, but two Oswalds. Harvey, a Russian-speaking Hungarian, raised to infiltrate America, and Lee, an American look-alike trained to mirror him. Together they created a confusing dual identity, allegedly part of a Cold War intelligence operation. Witnesses claimed to see Oswald in two places at once, and differences in dental records, as well as height, only fueled the mystery. Some even believe one Oswald was murdered to cover it all up. But despite its drama, no court has ever taken this theory seriously, and it was flat out rejected by the Warren Commission, the task force in charge of investigating JFK's death. But the suspicion didn't end there. Both the FBI and CIA launched intense investigations to figure out if Oswald acted alone or was part of a larger plot. The FBI was quick to shut the case, calling Oswald the lone gunman. The CIA, on the other hand, had quietly tracked his trips to Mexico City, where he met with Cuban and Soviet officials. But here's the kicker. The CIA didn't share everything they knew. Decades later, the House Select Committee on Assassinations slammed both agencies for withholding evidence and concluded that JFK was likely killed as part of a conspiracy. Still, no one was brought to trial, just a big fat maybe left in the historical record. And then we hit the wall of lost CIA redacted files. Mountains of classified documents, held back even after the law demanded their release. The CIA has never been formally tried in connection with Kennedy's death. But in civil court, the lawsuits stack up. Organizations like the Mary Farrell Foundation and Judicial Watch have gone after them, demanding transparency. But criminally, the courtroom remains silent, just whispers, redactions, and questions. Now, let's rewind a bit to the 1979 House Select Committee on Assassinations, often confused with the earlier Church Committee. This investigation officially declared that Kennedy was probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. That was a big shift from the Warren Commission's lone gunman narrative. They even cited acoustic evidence, the possibility of a second shooter. But once again, no trials, no indictments, just more smoke, no confirmed fire. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the Kennedy family has been fighting a legal battle of their own. Not about guilt or innocence, but about legacy and control. They've pushed to release critical documents while protecting JFK's private papers. It's a tightrope between transparency and privacy, a family name forever tied to the mystery. The media, of course, poured gasoline on everything. Defamation lawsuits, like the one won by Clay Shaw, which we will discuss in a later episode, showed how damaging the headlines could be. Journalists, filmmakers, and conspiracy theorists made careers off Kennedy's murder, sometimes with the facts, sometimes with the fiction. Even the Kennedy family hasn't been safe from media mudslinging. Then came the 2018 document dump, thousands of files released by the National Archives, but many still blacked out. That half step led to more lawsuits, with journalists and researchers demanding the rest. The balance between national security and truth, still hanging in the balance. And what about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? His assassination 5 years after JFK's has often been linked to the same dark forces. Both men were targeted by the FBI, both were seen as threats to the status quo, and both left behind more questions than answers. Some believe the same players were involved. Officially, no proof, but unofficially, the theories never stop. Finally, here in the 2020s, the fight isn't over. Civil lawsuits, FOIA requests, and demands for transparency continue. People want the truth. They deserve the truth. But the redactions remain. The files stay locked. And the Kennedy assassination, over 60 years later, is still a cold case, shrouded in secrecy and speculation. That's it for today's episode of Strawberry Ink. If you like this deep dive into the fog of the JFK assassination, share it, rate it, and follow wherever you get your podcasts. We've got more mysteries coming up, darker, weirder, and just as messy. Until next time, I'm Santiago, and remember, the ink might be dry, but the truth never really fades. Have a good rest of your day.